Becoming Our Best Selves, Jewish Mindfulness and Middot Practice. My name is Vanessa Way, and I'm Chief of Staff at JCC Association. And with my colleague, Nick Tosh, who is manager of our experience team, we're here to help make sure that this session runs smoothly and to answer any of your questions. So if there's anything you need from us in order to enhance your time during this session, please reach out to either myself or to Nick in the chat. Before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. If this is not the session you intended to join, no problem. You can scoot on out and go back to Spot Me and find the session you did. This session is being recorded, although when we do a breakout during the course of this session, that part will not be recorded. We know that some people don't wish to be recorded, in which case you can turn your camera off, but we really encourage everyone, especially this kind of session, everyone who's comfortable to try and stay visible so we can feel as if we're all together. We want everyone to feel like they belong here at ProCon 2021, and we're working to build inclusive spaces in which everyone feels welcome, respected, safe, and fully included. To that end, we encourage you to think about the following suggestions as we begin our time together. One, as we put in the chat, we invite you to rename yourself. Your name, your agency, what JCC you're from, and if you're comfortable, adding your personal preferred pronouns. You may notice we've also enabled closed captioning, and you have the option on your end to turn it off if you prefer. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our presenters today, Rabbi Mark Margolius and Elise Robinson. Rabbi Mark Margolius is Senior Director at the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, where he directs programming for lay leaders and alumni of its clergy leadership training programs, as well as the Tikkun Middot project, which integrates Jewish mindfulness with Middot, character traits practice. He hosts the Institute for Jewish Spirituality's weekday mindfulness meditation sessions and teaches an online program, Awareness and Action, Cultivating Character Through Mindfulness and Middot. He lives in New York City with his wife, Rabbi Ayelet Cohen, and their children. And as special note, both Nick and I, along with several of our colleagues at JCC Association, had the privilege of taking Mark's course, Awareness and Action, over a course of 10 weeks. The course and its teachings were so welcome to our group and so relevant that we as a group have continued to meet every 2 weeks to continue to explore the principles and the different Middot practices together. Elise Robinson, I'm gonna spotlight both of them. Elise Robinson is producer and director of the J Performing Arts Space at the Aaron Family JCC in Dallas. She's pioneered the performing arts program into one of the top year-round educational and performance-based programs for children and teens in Dallas. Elise brings over 20 years of experience working with youth, including producing children's musical productions, pioneering J-Pass, Camp Star Quest, and Star Power. Elise is also coaches youth in personal development, mindfulness, and empowerment. She's got a very long list of accomplishments here: teaching preschool, creating award-winning toy lines and consumer goods, licensing children's entertainment, and developing and managing and branding children's intellectual properties. She's also authored the children's book series Space Craze and has won over 45 prestigious national toy design and production awards. Most importantly for this session, Elise is also a certified mindfulness teacher. So at that, I will turn it over to Mark, and away we go.
I think we're going to start with Elise. Go ahead.
Oh,
Elise
sorry.
is up first. That's okay.
Starting with Elise.
Well, welcome everybody. We are so excited you are here. And so before we begin, let's just do a landing exercise. I'm going to invite everyone now to just gently place their hands on their heart. And let's take 3 deep breaths together. And one more. And then we're going to invite you to write into the chat something you are grateful for. This is going to be our topic today, Hodaya, just gratitude. So everyone write in the chat one thing that they are grateful for. I see my grandchildren, my breath, my family. Wonderful. Fantastic. My job. Well, great. Movies and books.
We've got a wedding coming up.
Oh, I missed that one. Yay,
Mazel
mazel
tov.
tov. Health, yes, family and friends. So many things. And before I pass it to Mark, when we practice gratitude, it instantly changes our mood and changes our mindset. And it's one of our super powerful tools. So, Mark, come join us.
Okay, thank you so much, Elise. Great to be with you all. We have a lot we want to try to engage in over this next 50 minutes or so. So I'm delighted to be here. I'll just say very quickly that I also have a JCC connection as a longtime member of the Kaiserman JCC outside Philadelphia, and as briefly the executive director and also director of Jewish identity for the JCCs of Greater Philadelphia. So JCCs are close to my heart. All my kids have grown up and been engaged in JCC activities. And this connection between my current work and JCCs has been just really very heartwarming for me. So one more reason for me to be grateful. Just going to give a very, very quick overview of what we're planning to do, and then we'll get to it. As Vanessa mentioned, I work for the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, which basically in one sentence, what we do is we try to help people engage in the whole range of Jewish practices, whatever it might be: prayer, text study, mitzvot, acts of loving kindness, social justice, through the lens of mindfulness. And we're going to unpack what we mean by mindfulness today. And one aspect of that, which has been near and dear to me, is the question about how Jewish practices and traditions and heritage and customs can help us really grow as human beings and do the best we can be as human beings. We're kind of over-promising here in this title of becoming our best self. I'd really like the way I usually amend that is to say, this is really about acting as our better selves more often than we normally do, which is just kind of looking for some incremental progress and hopefully improvement in human beings. And the idea is, well, how can Jewish tradition, Jewish custom, Jewish practice help us do that as a practice if we really pay attention to that and work on that through mindfulness. So today we're looking at a practice of what's called Tikkun Midot. We're going to unpack that. Literally means repair of our midot. These are qualities that we are innately endowed with by our Creator. So for example, today we're going to focus, as Elise said, on gratitude. In Hebrew, it's hodaya. And the basic premise is everybody here is a grateful person. It just may be that we have a hard time accessing or getting in touch with that gratitude. And so the practice is to work on ways of identifying the things that get in the way of our gratitude and hopefully soften that, open that, and open new pathways to be able to experience gratitude and to express gratitude. And as Elise said, there are all kinds of ramifications if we're able to do that in terms of our well-being, our health, our communities, all that. So but this is just an example of a larger program, as Vanessa said, called Awareness in Action, which deals with 8 separate midot qualities. So we're just going to get a taste of that today. That's the goal, and about how the practice works and how we might be able to do that. And if you're interested, there are many ways you can do a deeper dive into it. Okay, back to you, Elise.
Sure. And so I just wanted to share with everyone, I too have taken the course. And then I got the pleasure of being a facilitator and having the opportunity to work with 10 colleagues at my JCC sharing this amazing information. And one of the goals of sharing this information with you today is so that you can go back into your J's and have the opportunity for you to experience this course, which has really helped encourage a culture about well-being and self-care so that we can all be better leaders. Yeah, because when we take care of ourselves, we definitely have more to give. So yeah.
Great. Okay. So just to be clear, over this past year, a group of JCC professionals engaged in the Awareness Action Program with us at IJS, and then, as Elise just mentioned, turned around and facilitated the program for members of the JCC staff where they are locally and sometimes beyond that, as well as with the National JCC Association staff. So essentially, we had 25 in the original group, and they each led groups of 10 to 15 people outside. So over 300 JCC professionals were affected by this. And so we're hoping to extend that. That's really, part of our agenda here is to just plant that seed and let you, at the very least, let you know about it. So let's get in. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to share that it really did help create a really great bond and a great experience between our colleagues that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So if that's something of interest to you, I'm happy to chat with you at some point to tell you more of the positive benefits that we received from taking the course.
Okay, thanks. All right, so what is this? I'm going to share my screen, and Nick or Vanessa may have the link also to the to this text that I'm sharing, so that you can, if it's easier for you to see it on your own screen or just download it for later reference, that's fine. But in the meantime, let's look at what's on the screen. And there's a quote here by Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor and psychotherapist. And this quote is attributed to him. And it is, I think, like the best, almost bumper sticker size encapsulation about what this practice is that we call Tikkun Midot practice. The quote that's attributed to Viktor Frankl is that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And it's in that space that we have a power to choose our response, that is our response to the stimulus. And in how we choose our response lies our growth and our freedom. It's just a great, simple, simple but not so easy description of the process. So the key here is that what happens when there is a stimulus, when we're affected by something that is happening inside us or around us. Usually stimulus triggers a reaction, an automatic reaction, kind of a default automatic reaction, habits that get stronger over time. We all know what it's like to get triggered by this or that. Triggers stimulate a reaction. So the goal of the practice really, in the essence, is just to try to begin to move a little bit away from being reactive and to insert a space. And the premise, the theory, is that if we can have a little bit more space after the stimulus, then we have a chance to respond freely and hopefully wisely, and to actually choose the way we want to respond and respond from our best selves instead of through reacting out of fear or habit or greed or craving or something like that. We could end the whole thing right here. That's it. Okay, you got the whole Torah just from that quote. But then there's a very nice and I think also really accessible, I guess, a poem called Autobiography in 5 Short Chapters by Portia Nelson. And I want to see if any of you might be willing to volunteer to read this. I will scroll down. It's pretty simple. Just want to see if anybody would. And folks unmute themselves? Yep.
I'll read it.
Okay, go for it. Thank you.
Okay. The reason I really wanted to read this is because I found out about this poem years and years ago, and I still have it hanging in my bedroom. It's it's really an amazing poem. Autobiography in 5 Short Chapters. Act 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Act 2, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Act 3, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Act 4, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Act 5, I walk down another street.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. So here's a question for you. As you heard that poem, maybe I'll put it back up, but just if you would put in the chat box, which of those acts do you identify with? You know, which one, when you heard it read, I'll put it back up, so you kind of maybe smiled in recognition of, was it number 1, walking down the sidewalk and falling into the hole without even noticing it's there? Was it act 2, knowing that there was a hole in the sidewalk and pretending not to see it and falling in? Was it walking down the street, seeing the hole in the sidewalk and falling into it out of habit? And I don't know how many of you actually have made it to act 4 after the 3rd intermission, whether you actually walked around the hole in the sidewalk, or act 5, if you've actually chosen to walk down a different street. Which one do you kind of connect with? Depends on the day. Yeah. Okay. That's obviously no right answer. It's just the issue of recognizing when that happens, recognizing that, oh my God, I stepped in the hole. I didn't even see that coming. Oh my God, I kind of knew that was there, and yet I stuck my foot in my mouth again. The other time it's like, I see I'm about to stick my foot in my mouth and I'm going to do it anyway. And the other times I'm about to stick my foot in my mouth and I managed to shut it down. Or I stayed away from that person who every time I talk to them, I'm about to stick my foot in my mouth, okay? So we all familiar with these situations and the goal of this practice, and why you can see why it's a mindfulness-based practice, is to be awake, alert enough, and conscious enough that we can notice in real time what's happening, instead of after the fact saying, you know, there I go again. Why didn't I see that coming? We see it in retrospect. Sometimes an hour later, sometimes a day later, sometimes a year later. You say, like, how did I not see that? So mindfulness practice is really about, as much as possible, trying to be present in what's going on in the moment and aware of what's going on as much as we're able to, which leads us to what this practice, the basic elements of the practice. So I'm going to share this again. And if people have questions, by the way, it's just, I think, you know, it's a nice sized group, but it's small enough that if you want to interject a question, please throw it in. But here's the essence of the practice, and then we're going to kind of dive into it a little bit more. First of all, just definitions. What are we talking about? This practice, we describe it, IJS, we call it Tikkun Midot practice. Midot is a Hebrew word, which is a plural. The singular is midah. It literally means a measure or a quantity. So it's it's a measure or quantity of what? It refers to a quality that you could think of as an ethical quality, a moral quality, but also a spiritual quality with which we are innately endowed as human beings, created in the image of God, or the image of divine, whatever you prefer. And so this is a premise. This is just a hypothesis that we all have these qualities. They're in us. They're part of our spirit, or however you want to understand it, which is a particular way of understanding human nature. It says, you know, and it's significant, so that we don't have to go out and learn this from somebody else. We just have to get in touch with the wisdom that's present within us. Tikkun Midot, you may probably recognize the Hebrew word tikkun, which means repair, because it's usually used with the phrase tikkun olam, repair of the world, social justice. Here it's also tikkun, it's repair or mending, but it's paying attention to, and I might prefer something that's aligning our midot or accessing our midot, but that's the practice. How do we access these qualities and bring them on board in real time in our daily lives as we go about our life, whether it's personally or professionally or in any setting? So today we're going to just focus on one midah. It so happens it's a quality that is traditionally associated with this week of the Jewish calendar year between Passover and Shavuot. It's the 5th week of what's called the Omer, of 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot. So it's a seasonal midah for us right now. This is a gratitude week. And so the midah is called hodaya, which means gratitude, our innate capacity to be with life exactly as it is in the moment, to feel sated and full with what we have and who we are and how things are right now. I think we're all familiar with the phrase, it is what it is. And we could say it is what it is with all kinds of intonations, like in a kind of resistant way, like, what are you going to do? It is as it is. Or we can just say, it is what it is, as it is right now, or I am as I am right now, and accept and feel grateful for things as they are, even if we also know that they're not quite what we wish they might be ultimately. Okay, so 2 Jewish texts. Got the rabbi here, so you got 2 Jewish texts that just illustrate how, in some ways, Jewish tradition understands gratitude. We have a quote from the text called Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, in which Ben Zoma, the rabbi, says, ask the question, who is a rich person? Ezehu Ashir. And his answer is Hasamech Bechelko, which means who's wealthy? A person who is able to find joy in their portion, in what they have, in exactly as things are now. So that's one way of understanding gratitude, is just noticing what there is. What is our portion? Can I notice, accept, and feel grateful for the portion I have right now? Now, I also love this next text, which is a Hasidic text from the 18th century, the Degel Machane Ephraim, who is interpreting the phrase in Psalm 23 that people may probably remember. Surely goodness and mercy, here is translated, surely goodness and love shall pursue me all the days of my life. And he asked the question, why does goodness and love have to pursue people? We would expect people to run after blessings, not blessings run after us or them. And so he says, well, that's what King David prayed in Psalm 23. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. Surely goodness and love will pursue me all the days of my life. And so he teaches, sometimes we run away, we flee from the good because of our constricted and diminished consciousness. We don't know if it's good. That's why King David said, may goodness and love pursue me. Turns it into a kind of prayer. Pursue me. Let them run after me and overtake me, even when I don't know how to pursue them myself. So I get from that this idea that one of the ways that we practice accessing gratitude is just by stopping and letting the blessings catch up with us. That we were always on the run, and if we just stop, we can actually kind of let it catch up and fill us up from the inside. At least I find that a helpful image, and that's really consistent with what this practice is. So very quickly, here's in this program that we call Awareness in Action. Oops, I just left the meeting, sharing the screen. We have what's called a 3-step process. Step 1 is pausing, and we call that the step Hit Lamdut, which literally means self-learning. Step 1 is basic mindfulness, creating that space that Viktor Frankl was talking about between stimulus and response. Being curious, being non-judgmental, just seeing what's going on right now. So let me let go of judgment and just see what's happening. And as Elise has reminded me, the mindfulness aspect of this can be just as simple as when there's something triggering you or stimulating you, take a breath. as Lee started us off with, just put a hand on the heart, even for a moment, and that creates a space where creates the possibility that instead of being reactive, I can be responsive. Step 2 is, once I do that, I might see, oh, I don't have to react the way I normally am. I actually have some choices here. I could not say something, or I could speak up, or I could say it in this tone of voice, or I could use these words, or whatever it is. I could see what my options are. So step 2 is, having paused, I can see my choices, see my options. And then step 3 is, having seen my options, I can then say, oh yes, this is an opportunity the step 3 is referred to as tshuva, which literally means coming back to the quality and say, oh yes, right, gratitude. Let the blessings catch up with me. Let me let them in right now. So that's very, very, in a real nutshell, this 3-step process, which is pausing, seeing choices, realizing we can be free to make a choice instead of reacting out of habit. For example, for me, I know that I have a habit of pushing away good things because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose them or they're going to be over. And so I don't want to let that in because I'll be sad when it's over. So easier for me, I call this sometimes the poo cultural mentality, right? Don't get too happy, don't get too grateful. It's not going to last forever. And I miss the opportunity to experience gratitude because of that. So I can notice, okay, this is what's happening. I can take a breath. I can say, let it in for a moment. Let's see if we could let that in for a moment. Whether it's gratitude, receiving gratitude, or extending gratitude to others. So Elise is going to just engage us in a little mindfulness practice to get a taste of that. The goal is just to notice that if everybody here who put something in the chat box about something you're grateful for, you already proved that you have the capacity to be grateful, right? So we're going to get in touch with that with Elise.
Great. Wonderful. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to invite everyone to gently close their eyes. And if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, you can just gaze at the floor in front of you. And if you want to turn your screen off for a moment, if that feels most comfortable, you are also more welcome to do that. Then I'm going to ask you to take a mindful body. And a mindful body is what I call a still but alert body. And today, think about it as one of dignity and one for showing up for yourself today, for being here, for being willing to learn something new. And as we share in this moment together, I'm going to invite you to let go of anything that happened before you arrived at the session and anything that you need to do after. So I encourage you to just be here with you in this moment, in a community where you are safe to explore and safe to fill your heart. And just breathe. Let's all just take a really deep breath in through our nose and sigh it out. Let's do that one more time. This time we're going to do it for 4 counts. We're going to breathe in for 4 and out for 7. I'll count this out. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and out for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you know what we just did? We just activated our vagus nerve, which is like sending a love letter to our body, to our brain, to let us know that it's okay to rest. So just sit here and rest. And from here, just begin to breathe more slowly, more gently, more deeply into your heart. And let's begin this practice of gratitude of self by feeling how year after year you have cared for yourself. Have you cared for yourself and your own life despite your challenges? Yes, despite your challenges, you are here. You're here. And breathe. And just begin to notice your breath getting deeper. Maybe you recognize the rise and fall of your belly. Perhaps put your hands on your belly and just be one with you. And on your next breath, let's bring the gratitude practice to someone in your life, someone who has made your life happier, more fulfilling, someone who has supported you and been there for you. Feel their presence. See them in your mind's eye and say thank you. Or send them whatever wish feels authentic to you at now. And now on your next inhale, let's find gratitude for something or someone that you are struggling with. And let's send that person, that something, that struggle of gratitude, some well wishes. For it is often the things that are our greatest struggles that become our greatest lessons. And let's just take a deep breath in here. And we'll take one more collective breath as a community. We'll breathe in and breathe out. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and bring the light and the call back into your presence. And so thank you for going on that gratitude journey with us. And I will pass it back to Mark.
Elise, that was great. That was great. So Elise was just inviting us to kind of investigate what it's like to have the experience of gratitude in a situation where it might be maybe more accessible and easier, like somebody who, you said, Elise, who's kind of been an ally and been present for us and supportive, and then maybe for someone who might be more challenging to access that. In this week of practicing gratitude, we have an opportunity to, plug into my computer, grateful for the cord. We have an opportunity to experiment with that, and it doesn't have to be the most challenging. So the question, we're going to go into very short breakout groups, and just want to preface that by saying that don't be afraid, but if we hope everyone will go into the breakout group, no obligation to share at all. It's just an opportunity to get a chance to share what comes up for you around the question of gratitude. Is it something that's easily accessible for you? Is it something that's more challenging? Are you a cup half full or a cup half empty kind of person? Are you a cup overflowing kind of person? Or are you an Eeyore kind of, have a hard time even experiencing gratitude for anything? So here are the prompts for the breakout group. We're going to go into groups of 3 just for about 10 minutes, which gives everyone who would like to share at least 3 minutes to reflect on this question. What is this practice that Elise just led us in evoke for you? Where or when does it feel easier to experience gratitude, and where does it feel challenging? What gets in the way for you, if anything does? And then actually, if you can identify, even think about it right now before you go into the breakout groups, is there a specific situation in your life this week where you'd like to try to cultivate or experience or express more gratitude this week? Where someone you'd like to express gratitude to, who you've taken for granted, for example, or just, gotten out of the habit of expressing appreciation. Or maybe you want to practice receiving gratitude for yourself. Maybe you want to see what happens when somebody pays you a compliment or expresses gratitude for you. How does that feel? Can you accept it? Can you take it in? Can you add to the storehouse of gratitude? So we're going to go into breakouts for about 10 minutes. Thanks. Those prompts are in the chat box. Thanks, Vanessa, for putting them there. And we'll come back in about 10 minutes and invite whoever wishes to, just to briefly share a specific situation that you'd like to practice gratitude this week, and do some questions and answers if you have any, and think about how we might bring this, how you might bring this practice into your life and workplace going forward. Okay, thanks. Back, everyone. So we have about 13 minutes and wanted to see if, not required at all, but if anybody maybe wanted to share with the larger group coming out of the breakouts, anything you noticed about gratitude for yourself, or a specific, a specific, what we call in this practice, a Kabbalah, which means just like a situation or an opportunity where you might notice that you have the possibility of accessing the Midat. So for example, an opportunity to say like, oh, that would be an opportunity for me to express gratitude or to experience gratitude or to receive gratitude that I otherwise might miss if I didn't pay attention and focus on that. So did anybody have anything like that came up where you thought, oh, that's a good chance to do that? Or I'll share that something new for me that came up in our group for myself was how connected gratitude is with being able to be in a state of vulnerability, how emotional it can be, and how overwhelming it can be, and that it's hard to stay with that, vulnerability. It's hard to say thank you. It's hard to receive gratitude, because either way, we're to be in a state of gratitude because we are letting our guard down. Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. So feel free to raise your virtual hand if you'd like to share. It'd be great if anybody wants to share with anything on that front. I can't see, so everybody got their hand up?
I'd like to say something to
Amy.
to Sarah and Joseph. I accidentally pushed the wrong button and just got out of our meeting without saying goodbye, but I was grateful for a short period of time where we were perfect strangers and everyone shared a little bit about themselves and their feelings. And so I'm grateful for that. And I apologize that I disappeared.
Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead, Joseph.
Hi, Amy. I think we all got ripped out of our breakout rooms. Yeah, I found that was a great breakout room with Sarah and Amy, and I like that it was just 3 people, so it really gave us time to talk. And I think what we touched on was an interesting relationship between gratitude and sort of speaking up for yourself, and making if you're not getting what you need, speaking up for it, because you're not being your best self for other people. Like putting yourself in a mode to accept gratitude from others is hard. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Thanks, Joseph. Anyone else? Anyone has someone they would like to express gratitude to, who you normally take for granted, or a compliment or a place? Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
I would like to express gratitude actually to the JCC for, investing in programs like this, because to be able to work for an organization that cares so much, sorry, but to give us these opportunities. Elise, sorry.
Mark,
Go ahead.
it was interesting. Joseph, when he brought that up, it reminds me a little bit of Gavura with boundaries. This is another topic that we discuss with with knowing your boundaries. And I know I'm going off topic, but one of the things when I learned that lesson, we were talking about it, that I found fascinating is that the people that have the best boundaries are the least resentful, because they actually are able to express what they feel they need and they want.
Mhm.
I just thought that that was so the opposite. And when I realized that, it like opened my eyes to like, this is a good thing, setting boundaries, because it keeps you out of resentment for other people, because now they know where things lie. And I don't know, there's something about what you said, Joseph, that kind of made me think of that. So again, this is just one of, we did 8 Midas. So
Yeah, no, so that's not off topic at all, Lisa, I think. And it's actually a good segue, like you're saying. We were looking at one in isolation, but actually the program, there are many more Midot than these 8, but this particular program has kind of a curriculum of 8 that we do 1 week at a time, or it could be for a longer stretch, it could be a month at a time, could be a couple weeks at a time, whatever. And I want to just leave by giving people an idea about what the practice actually looks like. So usually, so the program consists of some, a series of videos that explain the Midah and some guidance and text and all that to introduce, well, what are we talking about? And then the actual practice involves ideally having a partner that you check in with, at least once a week, but ideally, a little bit more than that, to say, what's happening for you around this? What's coming up for you as you do this? And then a small group that meets regularly, say weekly, to again study, and just as we're doing here in a bigger group. Thanks, Robin, for that. I'll mention that in a second. To process the practice together. And for me, just to end with this, is that mostly what's valuable about that practice, having a partner or a group, is feeling safe to be able to come in and talk about how hard it is, what the struggles are, what the obstacles are like. I was really surprised to find out that it's hard for me to express gratitude, or it's hard for me to receive gratitude. And so I kind of push it away, or whatever that we're working on. So there are these elements of choosing a situation, say, okay, I'm going to be able to look at this week as I walk down the sidewalk, what are the holes I tend to fall into, and maybe I can see if I can have an option of walking around them. I might have a mantra, like a focus phrase on that quality. For example, I'll be happy with what I have, or look for the good, or my cup is overflowing, or something for gratitude. And a partner to check in with, or journal, or just keep tabs on it. Robin, there is this great, the Foundation for Jewish Camping, it's Rabbi Avi Orlo created this periodic table of Midot, which is it's a different program, but the same idea, that these are elements that are kind of part of the building blocks of ourselves. So, any questions? We have maybe a couple minutes. I know, Vanessa, you need to end with some closing words, but maybe with some space here for a question or two.
Sarah put something in the chat about how do you balance expressing emotions, sorrow, anger, etc., but maintaining gratitude. Does gratitude dismiss these emotions?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think the answer to that, short answer is no, it doesn't. I think the mindfulness base of this is about not denying anything that is true right now, and to realize it's possible to experience gratitude and resentment at the same time. I could express gratitude towards somebody, a coworker I'm having struggles with, or I'm upset with for any number of reasons, and also have other feelings, or fear, or grief, or whatever. In fact, actually in the program, what I talk about is that there's a direct correlation between my ability to experience grief and gratitude at the same time. I alluded to that because it's hard for me to be grateful for something that's going to be over. So, because I don't want to experience the grief about losing it. So it's easier for me not to get invested in it in the first place. But then I miss the gratitude. So it's a lose-lose there. So I can only experience gratitude if I'm willing to experience grief. over the loss of whatever we're grateful for, and knowing it's nothing lasts forever. And that was, it's an ongoing challenge, but definitely true. Grief goes with gratitude for me.
I would add also to Sarah, I think the non-judgmental piece comes in really handy with that question, because all of your feelings, as Mark said, are valid and normal. And the idea is to have acceptance of them and just see them really for what they are. And I think where gratitude comes in that moment is it's a tool to help you almost to balance and change that loop of that anger, perhaps change that loop of that negativity, and start to switch you by literally, when you practice gratitude, it releases hormones of serotonin and dopamine, which actually right away puts you in a happier, lighter mood. Then you may look at what's angering you through a different lens. That's what practicing of gratitude can do in those moments. They won't take it away. It just may make you start to see what is upsetting you, perhaps also from a different perspective. Once you're able to deactivate your nervous system and take a breath, because we can't see things when we're agitated from here. It's not, often we don't make good choices from there. So that would be what I would share.
Thank you, Mark.
That's
and
great.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just putting in the chat box, by the way, also, we're partnering with something called Days of Gratitude. So I'm just putting a link in, which gives you a sample video from the program, Awareness and Action on Gratitude, in case you want to get a little more of a taste of it from the video that's there too. Okay, Vanessa.
So thank you to Mark and Elise for all of their wisdom and guidance, and also for allowing us all to take some collective breaths, which was really nice in a busy day of conferencing. Nick has shared Mark and Elise's contact information in the chat, also information about the Awareness in Action course, so please feel free to reach out. I want to just take a few moments to plug our next session, which is our Excellence Showcase. Our colleagues are our best teachers, and in 30 minutes from 4 to 5, please join us for the JCC Excellence Showcase. Each 30-minute session, within each 30-minute session, your colleagues will share JCC initiatives in programming, staff recruiting and retention, visionary management, marketing and media, offering a great opportunity to learn about the initiatives that can be replicated in your own JCC community. To find out more, to choose which session you'd like to attend, take a look at Spot Me. I'd also like to welcome everybody at 5:15 today, Eastern Time, to join us in the J Cafe. This is our virtual coffee lounge to connect with your colleagues in a relaxed, informal setting. We're actually going to a different platform. We're not going to be on Zoom. It's going to feel very cool and neat, and it uses audio spatial, so you can be in the same room with people, but you can only hear the people near you. So it's really yeah, it's neat. So please come and try. And there you can meet other people, recap your day, talk about your Netflix shows, etc. So you can find the link and Spot Me. And finally, I just, tagging off of this session, this morning or this afternoon at noon, we had a mindful motivator session. And we're having one again tomorrow at noon Eastern. And it's just a way to set your intentions for the day, bring your whole self, take a deep breath before you jump back into the last day of conference. So yeah, I thank you again to Mark and Elise, and thank you for attending.